And most important, AI is in social media already. So our kids, when we think about ourselves as digital natives, our kids are going to be AI natives. The paradox of AI is this technology evolves faster than it can be controlled. So with every advance in technology, we end up working more, not less. Education is one of the sectors we think is going to change the most. And we're helping them think about how AI is going to change tutoring, so teaching, and what is the role of the school? Because the role of the school is not just academic education. The role of the school is also disciplining.
Buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches, depende cuando nos vayan a ver este podcast que estamos grabando en el día de hoy, como parte de los contenidos que estamos generando para lo que va a ser, pues pensar, como decimos acá, diálogo de la década, en el evento, en el marco del Innovation Land Summit, poder hablar con nuestros speakers, con nuestros invitados, en temas de innovación, de transformación digital y obviamente emprendimiento. Nos acompaña el día de hoy Dan Martínez, que es el Managing Director de Boston Consulting Group. Y claramente sobre eso, pues no va a ser spoiler para los que están aquí acompañándonos de lo que nos vas a presentar dentro de muy poco. Y es el tema, obviamente, de inteligencia artificial, conocer qué está pasando. Entonces, primero agradecerte que nos estés acompañando acá en Medellín. Creo que no es la primera vez, ¿es la primera vez en Medellín?
Primera vez en Medellín, yo estuve en Bogotá, pero primera vez en Medellín. Muy contento de estar aquí. Es muy bonito llegar del aeropuerto y ver toda la ciudad abajo, es muy bonito.
Claro, y pasar el túnel, pues tomaste
Sí, claro. Gracias por invitarme.
Bueno, no. Pues bienvenido, toca que más tarde le demos una frijolada o alguna cosa para que sea la experiencia completa. Para nosotros entonces, pues claramente, mi nombre es Santiago Pinzón, no me presenté, vicepresidente de Transformación Digital. El tema de apropiación digital y de lo que está pasando con tecnologías emergentes, pues hay cualquier cantidad de alternativas de lo que está ocurriendo. Pero la razón principal por la cual nos estás acompañando es el tema de inteligencia artificial. Entonces la primera pregunta obvia es, ¿qué es inteligencia artificial?
Voy a usar ChatGPT para traducir automáticamente, claro. So, reflecting on the dialogue of the decade,
Okay.
right? I think of Gen AI a little bit of the next 5 years. Next 5 years is going to be very interesting for us. So, when we think about artificial intelligence, a lot of people are thinking about what is artificial intelligence? So I'll talk a little bit about what is a model, right? So we'll start from scratch a bit. What is a model? How do we train that on data? And what are the things that AI can do? But what I find most interesting for people to know is that AI is already all around us.
Yes.
AI is everywhere, whether we want it or not. AI is in the maps we use, Google Maps. AI is so it knows where we are. AI knows about our email. So our communications, right? It scans our email for spam filters. AI is in the recommendation engines. So we buy things from AI. So AI knows our purchasing habits. It knows where we are. It knows what we're talking about. AI is at work. AI is pretty soon going to be in medicine, in healthcare. So we're in the talk. I'm gonna show you lots of examples where AI is at. So AI is already all around us. And most important, AI is in social media already. So our kids, when we think about ourselves as digital natives, our kids are going to be AI natives. So AI is going to be in education. AI is going to be in healthcare, right? So these areas, these industries will be highly impacted. And therefore, AI is going to be around on how we developed as a society, right? So we need to think about living in a world, how do we coexist with AI? In the next 5 years, AI is going to become more powerful. The models are going to become bigger. The energy consumption is going to increase. And then when we see companies like Google and Microsoft and Alphabet, they are building massive, huge data centers just for AI. They're going to have nothing else running on these data centers. It's going to be just artificial intelligence. So AI is going to be part of how we work, right? And in fact, now when we have a meeting, the meeting is recorded and the recording goes to AI to be transcribed, right? Mm-hmm. So AI is going to be at work because now most of us, we work from home. So we have a chance AI is going to be present and visible where we're at. So we just need to understand like what AI is. We need to become more AI literate. We need to understand what is data, what is the value of data, how do we understand and deal with data.
AI is basically data.
You know, the way I think of it, Santiago, is an AI model is the engine of the car. The platform is the entire car where the model runs. Data is the fuel
Okay.
to that car. So if you have
Maybe
that,
the oxygen.
and yeah, exactly, right? So it's the combustion. So it makes the combustion happens. So if it's bad fuel, you're gonna get bad results in AI. But then what we need to do is we need to train people to drive the car and then to get to a destination. And that's where we're gonna see the value of AI become really powerful, right? So AI, when we think about the AI models, it's just a little part of the whole. It's an important part, right? And there's a race for the bigger model, the best model. The model can generate videos, the models that can do coding, models that can do art, right? We're going to see AI art as a new type of art, right? In fact, now there's people going to AI film school because now we're going to be able to create films out of AI. And I'm starting to see some artists that are AI native artists, right? My reflection is AI is just one area that's developing, but we also see robotics. We see, medicine is evolving to DNA and gene therapies. We see electric vehicles. We see self-driving cars. If you look at the whole spectrum of innovations, the next 5 to 10 years are going to be almost unrecognizable for us, right? So I think it's really important that we keep an open mind, right? How consumers are going to re-educate themselves to use these technologies, right? Even when you think about NVIDIA, they had a release where they talked about robots and AI together, intelligent robots, right? That's coming. China is already producing many AI robots. In fact, China is also producing vehicles that are like drone vehicles, right? To improve urban mobility. So we just need to be like open-minded. The next 5 years are going to be very different than what we see today.
So where you come to a conclusion of AI is going to be very disruptive, it will grow. What about regulation? What are the challenges of regulating AI right now?
Look, this is a big paradox on regulatory space because the paradox of AI is this technology evolves faster than it can be controlled, okay? And this is not going to be the same as regulating cloud or data privacy. It's not the same. This is evolving way too fast. In fact, the European Union Act, right, the AI Act, just passed in the parliament.
Correct.
But it's not going to be into law until 2027. By 2027, we're going to be in a whole different space. So we just need to be mindful that regulatory environment needs to move faster. Governments need to understand, become AI literate, as well as companies, right? This is going to require a different type of collaboration. And we're going to talk about how the Colombia government is regulating AI. And I think from what I've seen, doing a good job thinking about how do we think about innovation? How do we think about the right sandbox? How do we innovate science and technology, right? So all of these areas need to continue to evolve, but just also keep in mind that this technology is evolving faster than anything we've seen in the past. And I'm going to talk about some of the innovations we've seen in the last week. You know, the models that we're seeing now, the innovations around vision and voice become really interesting, right? So now OpenAI has an app that allows people who are blind to just walk on the street and say, what are you seeing, right? So it's like enabling new people, the people to do different things that they couldn't do in the past.
It's a tool.
Right? It's a tool, it's an enabler. I like to think of it as a phenomenon.
Okay.
Right? We need to think about what it enables for us, what it unlocks for humans, for work, for companies, for society. Like there's a whole gamut of things that, to your point earlier, that need to be regulated, controlled, right? Because back to my earlier point, because AI is already all around us, it's affecting us, right? There are many positives, many opportunities for companies, but it's also creating problems around mental health for people, right? We're seeing increases in mental health. There's an increasing concern and fear around the future of work. What's going to happen with the future of work? Yeah. So
what about your thoughts in terms of, obviously it's an ongoing debate. You will destroy jobs or you will create jobs or you will evolve jobs.
Yeah.
What is your opinion?
I'm not gonna try to be an oracle here. So, but here's what I think, right? So, before any technology, people did manual work and they had to go to work and do work. And when they came home, they didn't have any work because they didn't have any tools. So this is before fax. When fax came in, now you can actually communicate faster with people. So you end up doing more work, not less.
Yeah.
And then when email comes in, now you can actually work from home. And you can finish some of the work in the office. Let's say you leave the office at around 5 o'clock, go home, have dinner, and then at 7 p.m., you're back at work. Now, and then with smartphones, now you can work anywhere. You're in the movie theater, you can do some work, right? So with every advance in technology, we end up working more, not less. As a result of innovations like smartphone, cloud, data technologies, we're seeing people working more to the extent that there's an increased level of burnout, right? And every time a new technology comes, we always say the same thing. We're going to be more efficient. We're going to be more productive. But what ends up happening is that we end up working more. With Gen AI, and AI in general, I think we're going to be working. I think it's going to make us more productive, but I don't know how it's going to make it worse the problem of burnout, right? Every time BCG, I do a lot of work with clients. All my clients are working on 10 projects, 20 initiatives, going from meeting to meeting, never stopping, right? I see this across sectors. I see this in banking. I saw this in healthcare, doctors doing a ton of work. And I do think that Gen AI will make us more efficient, but also I think hopefully it's going to help reduce burnout. So in healthcare, for example, there's a big problem with doctors and nurses, for example, right? These are professions that have a high rate of burnout. They are highly regulated. So what's happening now is that doctors, they have to work overtime just to fill out paperwork for people. And sometimes we go to a doctor visit and it's like they're on the computer.
Yeah.
They don't even look at you. And I'm like, that's frustrating. So, and I talked to my doctor. She's like, I have to work until 8, 9 p.m. just filling out paperwork.
Yeah.
So now there's a Gen AI technology that listens to the visit, the patient visit, and then it types everything for the doctor in a compliant manner, in a manner that protects data privacy directly in the form that doctors have to fill out. That helps the doctors work less. So does that mean we're going to need less doctor? I don't know. I think it's early to say. But every technology innovation in the past has created more need for maybe new jobs, more work for people. So we'll see how Gen AI changes that balance for people. There's a belief that Gen AI is going to be, in a few years, it's going to be more autonomous, meaning it's going to be able to do work on their own, right? We haven't seen that yet. This is certainly a direction of travel that I'm watching very closely. We'll see how much that has an impact on work. If at a minimum, it helps reduce burnout in people, I think we're going to be better off.
You also mentioned about talent. How you develop talent to train AI, to use AI. Is it from high school? Is it you need to change the syllabus, the curriculum that you have 5 to 12K, learning more of computer science? What would be the best approach for all of them?
Look, education is one of the sectors we think is going to change the most. And we're doing work for one of the largest foundations in the United States in the topic of education, and we're helping them think about how AI is going to change tutoring, so teaching, and what is the role of the school? Because the role of the school is not just academic education. The role of the school is also disciplining. It's making students interact with each other, and through that interaction, they learn social skills that they need for life. So it's not like we don't need schools. We still need schools. Yeah. But this is one area that we're like, how will AI help, right? And one of the areas we're thinking about is AI can become a tutor, so it can complement the teacher, not replace the teacher, but it can complement the teacher. It can allow the student to learn offline in the way they want to learn. Some students, they learn in a different way. Students, for example, that have dyslexia, they learn in a different way than students that have other types of learning differences. So personalizing education to the student is one thing. And then once they are in school, then they can do exercises in front of the teacher. So the teacher can measure more. So the school can become more of this practical place where the teacher understands the gaps in education and helps students close those gaps. The second area is how do you evaluate students, assessments, exams, right? Because now what you can do is students can do their test. They can take a picture with ChatGPT and say, what grade would you give me? What do you think how do you think I did, right? It's almost like it saves the teacher time to do the grading, right? And it gives actual feedback, real-time feedback to the student to say, here's how I think you did, and here are the things you need to learn better. So even how we assess the student is changing. And then third, how do we think about guiding the student to the workforce, right? So how do we think about this student based on your skills, based on your history, based on what you know, you're better in biology versus engineering versus law, right? So how do you do vocational guiding, which is a major gap today, right? The United States and every country is producing lots of students. How they're routed across the workforce, it's not an optimal exercise, right? So how do you use AI to help navigate students in the workforce? That's another area that we're going to see impact.
Two more questions. One is, what would be your recommendations, because you deal with enterprises and companies all the time, when it comes to embracing AI? Is leadership? Is it you have to develop the culture? Is that you need to invest in AI? Is all of the three? What would be your recommendations of that?
Look, for us, this is a CEO priority, right? For BCG, every one of our clients, we're saying this is not something you can delegate to a manager of AI.
You need to be in charge, involved.
You need to be in charge. You need to be accountable. We're seeing boards demanding leadership teams to have an AI agenda, to have an AI strategy, to start experimenting. We're seeing that happening across the leading companies that we work with. For us, it needs to start at the top. Okay. But then, if I were to look back at last year was a year of experimentation, right? It was a year of like, what is this? It's happening. What is this? I don't think personally anymore companies have a chance to say, I'm not going to do AI anymore, right? Not doing AI is going to be like, I don't do email.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be ubiquitous. We're going to be using AI like we use our smartphones. So companies need to have a strategy. They need to start experimenting. I don't think this year is the year where companies are going to see major breakthroughs, major innovations, because this space is still very new. There are many issues on this technology. In fact, I was watching one of the panels. They're talking about lack of data, lack of training, lack of,
barriers.
What's that?
The obstacles that you have.
The obstacles, right? There's too many obstacles. Companies today it's still experimental phase. Even the Gen AI platforms from Google, from Microsoft, from Amazon, they're still very new. We're still learning, how do we deal with this technology, right? But I do think next year it's going to be, companies are going to see now I have to deliver value. This year we're going to start to see companies putting use cases in production. I was actually talking to a Colombian bank this morning. They already have 4 use cases in production that they're testing with users. They have hundreds of users already using this technology. So Gen AI is real. It's not fiction, right? Companies are doing it. They're testing with it. They're training people. It's happening, right? Whether companies adopt it this year, next year, the following 2 years,
you will get that.
I do think it's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, one final question is, in all this information age, and you have different options in terms of books that you read. What are your books? What kind of books do you read?
Oh, great.
Your 3 top favorite.
To me, I listen to a lot of
podcast.
Yeah, so podcasts, videos. I try to. It's everywhere. So I listen a lot to Exponential View.
Okay.
That's a really good blog that really captures the state of. It's a weekly newsletter that talks about. We partner with Azine, who is the writer of the Exponential View. He's a friend of BCG, so we talk to him a lot. I think Karim Lakhani, Competing in the Age of AI. That's a really good book. I mean, because one of the things that companies need to think about is brick and mortar companies, they have products and services.
Yes.
Okay. Social media companies, they benefit from network effects, right? So this is like selling, delivering, servicing. This is network effects. But now there's also a data economy. And when you think about companies like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, they're playing at a different game. The game is about data. It's about data collection and then data monetization. And this is something that companies need to wake up to the fact that they also have data. And that data becomes very valuable for them. Karim Lakani talks a lot about how to build a data business. So, and we
the newsletter, the book, and the podcast.
The podcast, I would recommend the BCG podcast. We have a BCG podcast on AI, and then maybe I can touch with you offline. There's like a number of professors that I think are talking about some very interesting work on how do we cultivate the right AI, the AI that is aligned with our views, right? So of course there's I'm going to blank the name of the professor in Toronto who is one of the inventors of AI. And he talks a lot about alignment, right? Alignment is a big topic on how do we make sure the AI is evolving in the right direction, aligned with human values, not just AI values, right? So that's a big topic of conversation. Also, even how do we think about the explaining AI? It's a topic we call explainability, right? So even thinking about what's happening inside AI. So when we study open source models, we can see like how the AI is producing the answers, how it's activating the space within the model. So it's literally what's happening in the brain, right? So there's a lot of research there. I also follow a lot Stanford. Stanford is producing a lot of really interesting research on the economic impacts of AI. Eric Brynjolfsson, one of the professors at Stanford, he wrote 2 really interesting books on the topic of AI, the AI economy. There's also research from another group together with a partnership with Google where they talk about a society of AI agents. I'll touch on that in my presentation. And because one thing is, ChatGPT, it's interesting to ask questions, but we're going to see in reality in the coming years a network of agents that are autonomous, right? Stanford is doing research on that. I think it's a really interesting direction of travel.
Dan, muchas gracias por acompañarnos. Obviamente vamos a publicar esta información, este contenido, y pues agradecerles a ustedes, BCG, que siempre nos acompañan, nos ayudan, y en estos diálogos de la década, pues esta oportunidad es completa. Muchísimas gracias y estaremos obviamente en contacto.
Sí, muchas gracias.